Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, it's Zyder, and today I'm bringing you some Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. Now, I'm going to preface this with one thing: this game looks incredible. Just looking at it now, you can see it's in 1080p, 60 frames per second, and it's silky smooth. Wow, it blew me away. I played this on my PS3, and I think that capped at 720p at 30 frames, which, although it looked good, it wasn't quite there for smoothness. But what is Scholar of the First Sin? I suppose I'm going to start with that. And Scholar of the First Sin is well, firstly, it's an initial port on two next generation consoles, Xbox One, PS4, and I think it's an update that comes to the PC variant. Next on, it's kind of a additional layer of polish that's been added post-release. Oh, pardon me. For example, you can already see here, like you saw at the very start of the clip, there was the ogre, or the Cyclops, in the river, which is insane. You know, it adds another level of depth. Here you're going to see there's no Hide Knight brushed up against a tree. Instead, we're surrounded by dead, well, unconscious hollows. So its first level of change is a complete and utter sort of enemy reposition, enemy revamp, and I can appreciate that with only one problem, in that I kind of get the feeling that instead of replacing them, they've actually oversaturated them. In some areas you're going to feel like, instead of there being enough enemies to fight, you just feel like you're against a brick wall. There's so many enemies, you're getting overwhelmed, you're running out of stamina now. This could just be that I've been playing too much Bloodborne and I'm used to being able to go through mobs of enemies like butter, but in my opinion I think that's the downside to what they've done. I'm kind of getting the impression that there's less skillful placement of enemies and more like, well, they've been finding it too easy, we'll just completely throw as many enemies down. And this is quite a prime example of an area. As you can see, there's no need for all these soldiers. I can imagine from a lore point of view there's a good place for them to all be here, but the sheer amount of them is unreal. There's over 10, 15 soldiers in this starting area alone. But they've also added different enemy types which counteracts that. Earlier on now you start to get the ironclad warriors, you know, the giant turtle guys in there. Completely different change of pace now. Enemies feel like they're in areas where they're supposed to be and they're not just sort of like randomly plonked there, you know. So it kind of gives a little bit more cohesion to the story as a whole, rather than just, you know, plonking them there anyway, which sometimes I was sort of like, well, why on earth are they here? And I suppose the next thing, which we're probably not going to see in this clip, but we might see in the next clip I have for this, is they've done a lot more now with the fragrant branch of Yor now. This is going to be kind of spoilerified if no one's played Dark Souls 2 before, but the fragrant branch of Yor unpetrifies people. You know, like, if they get stoned from the, what's the word? The gecko thing with the massive eyes. And me, I just did a double backdrop on that guy, so I can't remember the word. Oh god, it eludes me. But anyway, they've added so many more of those stone statues in your way now. For example, at the starting area, the fourth tutorial tree is blocked off. The access to the 3 Ruin Sentinel Guardians blocked off. The access to the Knight Armour in the passage to hide blocked off. And it's given this whole layer of wanting to come back and play over again. And another quick side note is this is the definitive version of Dark Souls 2. It comes with the 3 DLC, so you've got the 3 Crown DLC, you've got Sunken King, the Iron King, and the Ivory King, I think it's called. I've kind of forgotten. But as you can see, for example, this Royal Soldier, he wasn't up there initially. Normally it's a bowman. Well, he's here now. And you're looking already and you're noticing that there's not a lot of change. It's not like there's an overhaul. You're not like you're buying Dark Souls 2.5. It's Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. It's more of a level of polish. Now, next up, one thing they have changed is item descriptions, which is something that if you go onto Vidia or you go onto Epic Name Bro or other probably a bit more credible sources on YouTube besides me, these people have all covered the fact that items in Dark Souls or in any Souls game as of general, all the way from Demon Souls, actually don't end appropriately. And that was the swag parry. Most items of any major importance actually end with a question rather than a statement, which it's a problem in its own right. These items you're recovering, you expect answers from them, but now I find that a lot of the item descriptions for a lot of the major boss souls, they've been shortened rather than changed. So they're a bit more direct, they're more concise, just to the point. And other than that, it's just minor bug fixes. They've fixed a lot of these old bugs, they've changed the enemy positions around, changed item descriptions, and other than that, you're buying Scholar of the First Sin. It is basically Dark Souls 2.5, it's repatched. But it's still a case of, it's not actually, I think I got mine off Amazon, which will probably be in the link in the description below. And they're not ripping you off. I think I got mine for £30 or your regional equivalent, I don't know dollars to pounds, but I felt that was a very good deal. I didn't think like we was getting overly ripped off. I felt it was fair, I felt it was considered as well. I didn't think like we were getting overly charged here. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of videos really on Dark Souls 2 on my channel. Now, not because I'm uninterested in the content, but I've played so much Dark Souls. There will be them, and I will be playing it because, hell, it's still Dark Souls. I still like to play, you know, my character as I do. And I suppose with this, I'm going to touch on my character build, and I'm going to sort of say this is a very easy character for any starter build. If you're playing Dark Souls and you're someone who, say you struggle at Souls game in general, pick the Cleric class. There is no way you can go wrong. Built-in heal, strong blunt weapon, you're pretty much sorted. As you can see, I'm 1 to 2 shotting these basic mobs. And with the heal alongside that, my battle sustain is huge. 1, 2, done. But yeah, other than that, it is refreshing though to play again. That's another way of looking at it. It's not as if there's enough in it to make someone who was like me. I played a lot of Dark Souls 2 on PS3. I played it extensively and I played the DLC. It's enough to make me want to play again, despite the fact that I've just got Bloodborne, which I'm completely greener on compared to this. I still feel like I need to play Bloodborne countlessly over and over again to find new tactics, new skills, play around with new weapons, but despite the fact that I've done all this on Dark Souls, I still want to play again, which I think, from FromSoft's point of view, that is the objective here. They wanted us to play again, because that was a fail. This is an excellent example of how they've done a good job. I'm going to give credit to them, and it's not like it was a cash grab. Now, I'm not shooting out Battlefield Hardline here, but if you compare Battlefield Hardline to Battlefield 4, Hardline is a cash grab, Battlefield 4 is not, but that's another topic for another video. But I think personally that if you played Dark Souls 2 and you've maybe played the DLC and you enjoyed it, I think this is worth buying. I do think it's worth your money and it's worth your time. Obviously you're going to have to want to spend that money, but it's value good. So in a minute here you're actually going to see a quick example of the new enemy location. So you can just see it there over the back of the Stone Soldier, and in this gap we've got Turtle Bros already. So, and realistically to be here though, they make sense to be here. These are the guardians of the castle. They wouldn't just be inside, they'd be outside. And I just got absolutely body slammed there, but anyway, back onto my initial point. Also, item drops are different. Here is normally a helm. Well, no, you're going to get a shield, which is absolutely terrible. But I would say go get this. And I'm not saying that because, you know, I want more people to play with, because the community is huge, but it's a brilliant game. You know, it's Dark Souls 2, it's got all the DLC, it's got that extra level of polish that obviously FromSoft wanted to put initially on, but they had to get the game out the door. Which is understandable, because I am actually going to go out on a whim and say that Dark Souls 2 wasn't that buggy when it released, and I did play it at release, which I think is a pretty good statement, but that's that. And it wasn't that buggy, so if this is the layer of polish that they've just been working since, I don't know how long Dark Souls 2 been out now, a year? Possibly more, possibly less, I can't tell you. But if they've been working for a year to get this level of polish, then more power to them. That, more than anything, that shows a level of care for your player base that maybe other games don't have. You see a lot of other games where they get rushed out the door and they're inherently buggy, they're inherently problematic, they've got no support for the players, and they're just left to sink. Whereas something like Dark Souls has come out where it was buggy, but very slightly buggy. And then a year down the line they've released this massive patch which basically wipes the slate clean and brings the game up a level. And it's free of charge. What more could you want? I mean, yes, the DLCs are only included on the disc if you buy it. So if you do get the normal version, it will upgrade you to Scholar of the First Sin, but it will not include the DLC. So that's another, either, I don't know if it's £6 or £7 per DLC or a £15 sort of season pass, but you might as well get the DLC. They contain more story, more items, more bosses, more time. And you can easily sink 60, 70 hours into one character if you want to do everything and go everywhere and fight all the bosses and see everything that this game has to offer. So, this is me very early on. I've just hit the Cardinal Tower bonfire, and this is me to sort of, I think this is my second or third run through. I generally go through the starting area quite a few times, and as you can see, the game just looks really good. The textures aren't as rough as what they sometimes were on PS3. Sorry. Frame rate's nice and silky at 60, and you can definitely tell it's at 60 because correct me if I'm wrong, but if I go from Dark Souls 2 to Bloodborne, I feel as if Bloodborne is actually at 30. Now, I don't know if it is. I can't tell. I don't have the method of measuring that in-house. But I get that feeling. However, playing Dark Souls 2, it's so much smoother. And it just looks great. And you know, it's still Dark Souls. It's still an amazing RPG that's got difficulty at its heart. It's still a lovely and perfect and beautiful piece of complex, mechanics and gameplay that all interact to create Dark Souls. Whether you're a PvP enthusiast, whether you're a speedrunner, whether you're a PvEer like me, I like to do a lot of PvE. I like to get into the high level new game pluses because I love that difficulty of it. I think it's all catered for in Scholar of the First Sin. Now there will be a video later on, I think, of me playing through No Man's Wharf, which is far enough forward that you can sort of see where I'm going with it, but not stupidly far forward. And you'll just see like how they've took an intelligent approach to it rather than stupid. No Man's Wharf has now got literally no light in it whatsoever, so it means that you have to go through No Man's Wharf at least with either a torch, or if you're a mage, a way to summon light. And it adds that level in because No Man's Wharf was not a difficult area. Probably the most annoying thing was the sort of like crab, giant, beast, ape things. But now it's a case of they get enraged so much quicker that light is actually more of a temporary solution, and you have to be dead set on your solution for that problem. But as we're rolling up to the end of the video here, I'm going to cut it off and I'll let the rest of the B-roll show over. So yeah, I want you to leave a comment.
What a joy.